Hello and welcome back to the Power Shed. Today we're going to show how to use a digital scope with a math option, and particularly the math option is multiply. I had these little Handtech. These are about 65 or so bucks. USB scope. I really like them. My computer died and I have a 10S which I can't load anything into. So I bought this cheap scope. It was like 200 bucks. And this is one of the few scopes that in that low price range that still have a math function. They all have math functions with adding and subtracting, but as you can see there, we have, this is the current, and the yellow is the voltage of the panel, and we multiply the two and we get the power. And you see the peak there, and so we can go look at the peak and check over here and see what the voltage is. That says 56.8 volts is the peak. It's a cloudy day, miserable day. I don't know what the power is. This could be a really great video, but you know, you're not going to get it here. It would take a lot of editing and stuff, and I'm packing up this week. I've been trying to do this for a year, and you know, you start setting up the scope and light conditions change, and it can be a little irritating setting it up, but it is actually the best way to measure actual power of a panel or whole array. And the simple circuit is you know, just unbelievable. You have a current sense resistor, and so channel 2 we're sensing current, and then we just have a large capacitor. It can be like any size. The larger capacitor, the slower it'll be, and then I just use a switch. And so when we attach the panel to the capacitor, or whole array to the capacitor, initially it's a dead short, and you're going to be pulling current, and we're going to see you know, peak current, ISC, and that occurs for a while. You can see it's almost flat. This panel is really shaded up there. It's under the trees right now. I don't think we're getting a lot of power, but usually it'd be really flat, and this one's just kind of all over the place. But that's what it is. And you know, you can use a smaller capacitor. The time function will be shorter. And you know, you have a little button here that says math, and you can set up the math. On the more advanced scopes, you can, well, I mean, you know, this one has it. You can either set it up as you can set in the resistor so it calculates out amps, or you can set how many volts per or amps per division. But it's pretty simple. Now let's see if I can get this reset. This is irritating because you got to go back, and each time you do it, you set it for a single. You got run stop, so we're ready to trigger. And of course I got the switch in the wrong position. So let's discharge that capacitor. And hey, there it is. Once again. So, I mean, the nice thing about this is you can take a whole array. This is a 60 volt array, just 2 panels I'm testing at the time. But, you know, you can get these curves just like you get, you know, delivered from the manufacturer. And this is as true as you're going to get. You're not worried about some MPPT converter that's locked on the wrong place. If you had a, you know, multiple string and you had shading, you would actually see some multiple peaks here, and sometimes the MPPT converters will lock on that on one of the lower ones. My Make Sky Blue certainly is terrible. It'll go from normal 55 to 58 volts down to 17 or 23, and it'll stay there. And I'll unplug the panel from it, plug the panel back in, and it snaps right back up to the normal voltage. that's all it is. And this can be a lot of fun if you have a scope around. And like I say, you only need to spend about $60 on one of these, the little hand-tech ones, because that uses the math in your laptop. And it's not really portable, but you know, if you have shading conditions and you're wondering if you're getting multiple peaks, this is the way to do it. I have 6 strings, and I can plug each one into this and see what any one of those is doing at any particular time. But if you had a microprocessor, you could hook up a microprocessor to this, and you could have a trigger on the voltage when you flip it, and then what you do is you take samples every fraction of a millisecond and multiply those out together, and you could develop a curve, or you could just do the math and have it pick out the peak value of watts from the multiply. And that's what these little $50 handheld meters that check panels do, is they measure the open circuit voltage, they measure ISC, which is the initial part, and then they multiply and they find the peak and they tell you what the peak power is. And that's how they work. And they're nothing more than this, a capacitor and a resistor. You know, all you have to do is size the resistor so the resistor doesn't fuse open. So, you know, if you have a 5 or 10 watt resistor, that'll be more than enough for even very, very large arrays, because typically this only takes 200 milliseconds to do the whole scan. So that's it. I hope you have fun with it. I'd like to have people try it and publish their results. I'd really like to see some of these arrays which have multiple peaks in them, because people don't believe that these MPPT converters can lock on one of these lower peaks. And locally it just keeps searching back and forth in a small voltage or current region, and it never breaks out of it. So thanks for watching. Like I said, I'm packing up, and it'll be a while before I do something else.